Director here at Access Framingham, and I wanted to welcome you all to the FPAC annual meeting in person. So let's give it up for being in person. All right. And I just wanted to take a couple minutes and go over what the agenda is going to be this evening. Okay, so shortly we're going to go through a series of reports. So there's going to be the president report from Audrey Hall, the treasurer report from Mahmoud, and then I will be providing an executive director report. We're going to take a chance to look at some video highlights from 2021-2022 both from Access Framingham and from FEC TV, the Framingham Education Channel. I want to be able to have an opportunity to lay out some ideas for the future and answer any questions. Then the meeting is going to shift towards some board-related activity, board recognition, as well as candidate introductions and the election process. And then after that, we will hopefully just be able to close the meeting and have a good meeting. So I suppose without further ado, I wanted to introduce Audrey Hall, President of the Board.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you all here. Thank you so much for your time, for being here with us tonight. I really appreciate it, and it says a lot about who you are and what you believe in. The fact that you're here means that you believe in free and public access to media. It means that you believe that the public has a right to information, entertainment, and unedited control over what you see and what you hear. And that's a value that we must all share if we're involved in an organization like Access Framingham. I've been the president of the board through a very interesting time during the COVID era, and things changed a lot during that time. I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And I also want to just give you a reminder as to what all the acronyms are that we use in this industry before I dig even very deeper. But first I want to also just remind you what the mission of our organization is. Access Framingham, our mission is, and first of all, just as a reminder, we're not funded by the city, we're not funded by taxes, we are funded by the people who subscribe to and pay their cable TV bills every month. There's a line on their bills for a charge for public access. It's a service that is mandated by the FCC. That money goes to the municipalities in every community. The municipality then takes it and divvies it up. There are three entities that it funds. One is called public access, one is education, and one is government. And those three together create PEG, P-E-G, public education and government. Here at Access Framingham, we run the access, public access, and we've been contracted by the school department to help run the educational access. The government access is run by the city of Framingham itself. So a big shout out to the cable subscribers for their ongoing support financially to keep programming like this alive. It keeps the high school students learning the industry. It keeps coverage of the high school sports, the graduation, all those wonderful programs that parents love to see their children involved in. And here at Access Framingham, it gives everybody an opportunity to come in and learn how to use equipment, to create programming, to go in depth on topics that wouldn't be covered in the media, and to get entertainment, to let young artists have exposure and the opportunity to participate in media. And it's something that is only available through public educational and government access TV. And so our mission at Access Framingham is to engage, serve, and enrich the community. So engaging, serving, and enriching the community. And we do that by developing programming by and for the people of Framingham. And we provide those educational opportunities that I was talking about and the facilitation of ideas and information through new and traditional media. New and traditional media, well, you know, when PEG started way back when, or in the early days of the cable industry, when the cable companies were running it, nobody had a cell phone. nobody could take photos on a whim unless they had a camera, and they went and waited and developed the film and waited to see what was going to come out of it. That technology wasn't available, and we've come a long way. So we, as an industry, we have to grow and change and acclimate to the changes in technology and the changes in consumer expectations, and that's what we try to do every day here, and you'll see more of that in the future as we progress and we start to bring in, and Jason will talk a little bit about that, what some of the plans might be for educating and people on and using new technology. The other acronyms that I just want to review for you, you'll hear us say FPAC, which is Framingham Public Access Corporation, but you'll also hear us say AFTV. And I just always like to remind people that the difference is that FPAC, Framingham Public Access Corp, is the legal entity for the formation of this corporation, and AFTV, Access Framingham TV, is how we do business. We do business as AFTV, so it's a DBA. And over the course of this past year, I have to say that we had a lot of changes at Access Framingham. And usually when people join a board, they join a board and they expect that they attend monthly meetings, they do some volunteer work, but they don't always have to really roll up their sleeves and take over day-to-day operations and functionality of the organization that they're serving in, because there's a staff that does that. But when there's turnover in that staff, when COVID or a pandemic like COVID or something unusual happens, and when people have changes in their lives that cause them to make changes, which is what happened here at Access Framingham TV. You have some turnover. You have changes in the way your organization is structured. And we had that over the course of last year. We had a lot of, we had people out on leave. We had resignations, people revisiting their lives and their priorities. We had a pandemic that kind of closed us down and shut us off to the public in a direct way. And we had to really rethink everything. And at the time, our executive director, who was the key person in charge, was one of the people who left. And before he left, he was out on leave for quite some time. So at that point in time, it was, roll up your sleeves, and it was the board of Access Framingham, the FPAC board, that was running the organization. In a small organization, you don't have layers. You don't have 2 and 3 layers of people in each position so that the next person just moves right into a slot. And when a slot opens up, it sometimes stays open for a while. And you really have to find the right people, cultivate them, onboard them, orient them, and it takes time. But I have to say that I've served in many capacities on several boards. I've never seen a board roll up its sleeves and dig in and take over running an organization and supporting the staff and working with the staff as much as this board did. It was a tremendous amount of work. And there was never any complaints about it. There was always just, we want to do the best we possibly can for this organization, and all hands were on deck. And you're looking at the photos of our board members who we're going to talk about a little bit more later, but I just want to say a big thank you. Everyone served, stepped up to serve on a committee, played a role. We were able to divvy up a lot of responsibilities and do some innovative, creative, new work. And I think it's going to make the organization altogether better. And I'll tell you how. First of all, when the board took over the operations of the organization, after the executive director did leave, it automatically became, there were like I said, many, many new challenges. First of all, we had to adjust. How do you run an organization without an executive director at the helm? And 2 other people in the organization had also moved on to other things in their lives. So I think what the board did that was so critical was to really dig in and take a close look at the whole organization, examine everything, examine the bylaws, examine the policies and procedures, examine the handbook, examine payroll, examine our policies. Every single thing that was in place, it was time to re-examine everything and to say what can be improved. Where are things that really need some attention? Because we hadn't had to really take a look at the organization that closely in the past. And so in our different committees, we did that. We analyzed things. We identified areas of opportunity to make things better. We also just reevaluated, who are we? What are we doing? Do we like the way we're doing it? Do we want to do it differently? Would it be better for the community? Would it be better for the employees? Would it be better for all of our stakeholders to look at things differently, to do them a little differently, to adjust to the times, to adjust to, the new world that was kind of emerging right before our eyes, and think about restarting. How do we want to come out of this? And a great team effort went into this. And one of the things that we also had to focus a lot of our time on was filling that very important slot of executive director. So we formed a search committee. There were 5 members of the board who were on that search committee. And that included our clerk, Michael Cunningham, board member Maria Rosado, our treasurer, Mahmoud Akhtar, board member Pam Richardson, and myself. We had over 35 applicants for that position. We had not all qualified, but many very qualified people. We did preliminary screenings on the phone. We did Zoom interviews, and then we did a series of in-person interviews. And I have to say that we were delighted to be able to offer this opportunity and to have it accepted by our new executive director, Jason Daniels. Jason comes to the organization with a wealth of experience in this industry, which means that there's a shorter learning curve because, as I said, there's a lot of jargon, there's a lot of history, and there's just a lot of learning that has to happen if you haven't been in this industry. And he had so many great accomplishments as well in his role. He worked at Easton Access Cable TV for many years and also was the creator of the 102nd Film Festival, which has been recognized widely throughout the industry. And he also is a Framingham resident. You'll get to know him more. I hope you'll all take the time. Jason, welcome. We're so happy to have you. I have the privilege as the president of the board and the responsibility of being the person that works on a regular basis with the executive director. And so Jason and I have our meetings once a week. We really go over everything that has to be discussed in the organization between the president and the executive director. We talk about strategy, we make decisions, we bounce ideas off of each other. And I can say that, Jason started in June, just about rounding the 90-day mark, and everything that we had hoped for is coming to fruition. He's just really, you can see tonight even just how nicely this whole meeting was set up, and how he and the staff have pulled together and done such a great job, and he's off to a wonderful start. So please take the time, set up some time, have a coffee, get to know Jason. He's going to be doing some really creative, innovative, new things here at Access Framingham. We're all looking forward to it and hope that everyone here is also going to be a part of it. And Jason and I and the staff and the board, we're all looking ahead now a little bit. Jason is going to talk about that a little bit later. But what I want to talk about right now is just a few of the things that we were able to accomplish over the past year in anticipation of handing over a very sound, stable organization to Jason when he took control. We really wanted to get our operations on solid footing. We wanted to I think I mentioned to you before, close some loopholes. Well, one of the things we discovered as an organization this small is that organizations our size don't usually have human resources departments. So what happens? You still have to take care of your employees. You still have to look at the benefits and the compensation and the payroll and all those things. So we did some research, and we ended up hiring a company that provides us now with HR resources. We contracted that out. We're looking into the same on the IT side. We really want to bring in some expertise to help us supplement what we can have in-house with our own staff and make sure that we're running as professionally as we possibly can. So we've taken care of that on the operations side, really digging in and looking at ways to improve policies and procedures. We've looked at those again. We've looked at the handbook. We've looked at member policies. If you have gone to the website, you've seen that things have been automated. Jason will talk a little bit more about some of those things later. With the facilities, we purchased some new equipment in here. The 3 cameras that are in here are broadcast quality cameras that were all purchased within the last year. Top-notch, people walk in here from in the industry and they're very impressed with the cameras that we have. We've purchased some new equipment for the set. We have taken control of our master control room, which really needed some better temperature control, and we've put new equipment in there for that. And then we spent quite a bit of time preparing to properly onboard Jason and give him the tools and the support that he needs so that he can take off and take the organization where it really should be to best serve the community. And now we're in the planning stage going forward, setting goals for the future, looking at what we want to accomplish, how we want to adjust to the changing technology and the needs of the community. And it's all very, very exciting. And one of the things we want to do is bring more people in, because you saw in the mission that one of our things is to engage with the public. We're hoping that all of you will help us tell them one of the best kept secrets in Framingham. You know, we did some research about 2 years ago asking people throughout Framingham. We invested in a very extensive marketing survey, what they thought about Access Framingham. And what we learned is that when they know who we are and what we do, they are thrilled, but many don't know. So we need to get more people engaged. We need to let people know who we are and ask them to become a part of our organization and make this a resource that enriches their lives and more lives in the community. And with that said, I'm now going to turn it over to Jason and let him talk in more detail about his experience and his report on what he's been doing and plans to do going forward. So thank you all for being here. I'll be back again in a few minutes to just cover a couple other little things, but thank you all so much for being here.
So actually, what I'm going to do is toss it over to Mahmood for the treasurer's report.
Thank you. Briefly, we do this every year just to bring our audience to make them know, how we are funded. We are an independent 501c3 nonprofit corporation. There is no money, no Framingham tax support. As Audrey mentioned earlier, the cable companies pay into the city, and the city then kind of distributes them to the 3 different television entities that we have in this city. And so that's what it is, funded by the cable subscribers. And we manage the public access and the education access television here. We are on contract with the schools to manage the educational access television stations. So that's primarily who we are and how we get funded. This is kind of a brief synopsis, if you will, as to where our funding is coming from and what our revenues have been in the past 12 months. Our total revenues for the past 12 months are $693,369. And the breakdown is, there are 3 cable companies here in the city. So Comcast, Verizon, the third one is RCN. We also, as we said, we have a contract with the school department, and that's $268,670. The last one is, we have some monies that we have as CDs. We have revenues coming in from our membership, and a few other small things, and that accounts to about $4,699, makes a total of $693,369. Our expenses, we have professional services, $24,581. Professional services are people that, our accountants, our contract employees that do the broadcast engineering support, etc. Then we have communication services, things like internet that we pay for. And payroll and benefits, of course, is the largest part at $295,923. Then we have facilities, which includes the rent for this building and so on, $182,549. Then there are other operating expenses, things like we buy supplies and little, things sometimes require a little tune-up of things, or we have to buy a few small things for the studio. And those are the other operating expenses. I kind of put them all together in that regard. So we have a total expenses of $535,988. And so our net operating income for this past 12 months is $157,381. I just want to say something, as Audrey mentioned, this past year, we had a couple of employees leave the organization. Our executive director was on leave of absence for a while, and then he left the organization and took some time for us to bring the new executive directors. So what you see there are a lot of the payroll costs and the benefit costs that we did not have to incur because we did not have the employees. Going forward, you will not see that type of an operating income. Usually every year we try to manage our budgets or in a way that kind of meets our total expenses, and our operating costs are pretty much within 1 or 2%. So that's a very unusual number. It is one of those things I had to explain as to why we have that operating income. So I know we are making all the efforts to get Jason and Audrey are making all the efforts to get the new employees on board, and Jason is here. So you will next year when we sit here, hopefully we will see that number is pretty much within 1 or 2% of the revenue targets that we have. So in conclusion, I just want to say that the board of directors are very cognizant of what's happening in the industry. You hear a lot about the cord cutting. Fortunately, our revenues have been reasonably stable. We had a revenue decrease 2 years ago, but in the last year and this past 12 months, our revenues are fairly stable. But we still hear a lot about the cable cutting, which means our revenues have a potential of being decreased. So your board is very cognizant of that fact, and we are trying to do everything to manage, how we position the organization within the revenues that we may see going forward. Are there any questions? Pardon me? Okay, if there are no questions, I thank you very much.
Okay, let's see here. All right. Thank you, everyone, again for coming. My name's Jason Daniels, as I said before. And thank you, Audrey, for the introduction. I did want to give a couple of thank yous just before I started here. First of all, Brian Blair it's his artwork in the hallway, and we really appreciate that he helped us. Helped us kick off the gallery space again here at Access Framingham, and he is having a reception on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. if you want to swing on by. I also wanted to thank Terry, who helped us to gather a lot of the food for the annual meeting, and I'm going to make sure I thank the staff individually in a couple of minutes, because it was really a team effort to get everything started. It has been a real honor to be here at Access Framingham. Access Framingham, or FPAC, has a rich history and I'm just learning about it. I've been trying to dive deep. And I know that there's a room in the back with 40 years of videos, and I'm trying to sift through it. But, a lot of communities don't even have that. They haven't preserved that. And I think that's really important. Part of what we do, or a lot of what we do, is about people and about place. And sometimes I like to think that we're a social service organization that uses technology. And I say that because what we try to do is understand the needs of people, empower them, find out ways that they can use technology to help them, meet their own personal or organizational goals. Oh, great. And I feel like community access is really at its best when it's a reflection of the community that it serves. And I've only lived in Framingham for about 4 years now. Obviously I grew up on the South Shore, so I did come here as a kid. My uncles lived in town for a long time, but now's an opportunity for me to really understand or get to know Framingham. And from what I can tell, it is certainly a rich and layered community. And I think that when I look at it this way, that Access Framingham just has a number of opportunities right in front of it to meet its mission. Well, first of all, I can tell that community media as a whole is vital to Framingham. We all know that there is a lack of local news, a lack of trusted news, I guess you could say, in terms of when it comes to social media. And I think some of the work that a community access station does, the skill training, the workforce development, team building, amplifying the voices of organizations, and being, as Audrey said, the last bastion of free speech. Access Framingham really has a role to be a community institution, and it's our mission to connect it all. So I do want to take a couple minutes and tell you what I think it takes to evolve. But I wanted to just acknowledge the team that helped me here when I started in June. All right. We have Shavarsh Morrissey, the studio operations coordinator, who's running the control room. Many of you probably know Shavarsh. You certainly can give him a hand if you know him, if you've worked with him. All right. Jared Greenberg, a programming manager, production associate, has been out front helping people to check in. In the back there's the FEC TV crew. There's Michael Goodman, the education access manager. Thanks, Michael. And next to him is Zach Valencia, the education production specialist, who actually just started last week. And I did want to also acknowledge a couple of folks that come in a little more infrequently, but are nonetheless extremely vital to the organization. So there's Glenn Axelrod, who's our broadcast engineering guru, and Claire Joyce, who's our bookkeeper. And then at the bottom here, just so you're all aware, we do have 2 current openings. We're looking at a production manager and a director of communications and outreach. And this is our first step in trying to rebuild back Access Framingham. All right. As I said before, every community is a little different. And I've been really humbled by the members and producers that I've met so far in Framingham. It's wonderful to see folks that are behind the camera, in front of the camera, committed to helping each other. I understand that the past couple of years have been extremely tough, but I know there's a community here, and people are really, really understand what access is all about. And And so in terms of our membership, obviously it's a goal of mine to help it grow, and that's a big deal. We want people to become members because we know they'll be ambassadors for the organization. So one of the first things I've done here is develop an online membership form, and I think that's kind of helped everybody kick into gear, like, you know, what is membership, you know, to this organization? What does it mean? You know, why is it important? You know, why would I want to join your organization? And right now I'm thinking that through too, and I really want your input. This is a time for that to be a conversation. So I want to know, you know, what would it take to get your neighbor to join Access Framingham as a member? Now I know that in the years past we've had an individual that's been recognized as a volunteer of the year. But I will say that perhaps a bit because it's through COVID and perhaps because I'm just a new guy, but I wanted to at least take this year to just acknowledge all the volunteers that have been in front of and behind the camera this year. So I just wanted to, maybe we could all just give ourselves a round of applause for that. One of the really great things about Framingham is the abundance of organizations that are trying to do good, important work here. And even in the few months that I've been here, you know, I've seen on the channel, talked to people, and seen some of the organizations that have partnered with us, used our resources. And I feel like, to me, that is great. And I feel like it's a stepping stone to see where we can go next. I mean, I think, you know, our tagline is connecting the community, and so I really do believe that, you know, we are an ally to local organizations, and we will help you amplify your message. I think that's what we want to do. You know, we want to make Framingham a stronger and more vibrant community. And so I could probably talk about all the great things that and organizations that we've worked with and all the volunteers and all that, but we actually have a couple of videos to watch. And so I wanted to take a minute, and we'll transition, and we'll take a peek at a highlight reel from Access Framingham and a highlight reel from the FEC TV, the education channel. So sit tight. We got a nice 10 minutes of great highlights from the past year.
There was this rumble in the subway. Hey,
What are you, a tourist? It's the subway! How are you gonna tell one rumble apart from another?
at the time, I thought nothing of it. Sometimes I think I only remember it in retrospect. I got out of the subway and went up one.
Good evening, everybody. Well, that's a little bit better for crying out loud. We're here to celebrate 50 people who are retiring from Framingham Public Schools. Wow. Woo! I was told... strong. And one! Get a hot foot. Screen, corner, three, up, go!
I'm Kennedy Thingarandawa.
And I'm Ben Hunt.
Ben, can you live without electricity for even an hour, or is that impossible for you?
I think I would have a panic attack.
Well, that's what's happening in Puerto Rico right now after Hurricane Fiona. They have lost all their electricity on the whole island.
Let's head on to Andrew's video.
30 million people are without electricity right now. And 60% of the population are now homeless.
My video is about the migrants on Martha's Vineyard. Now, let's head over to my video.
Around 50 migrants were sent by plane to Martha's Vineyard by Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis last Wednesday. The migrants had been flown from Texas to Martha's Vineyard. However, DeSantis never told anyone of his plan, and they just showed up here in Massachusetts. Luckily, the people of Martha's Vineyard were very welcoming and helped the migrants out.
Let's get to the important stuff and talk to these champion girls about their team, their work, and their victory. And let's find out who they are. I'm going to go down the list first. I'm going to talk to you, get each of you to introduce yourselves, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what it feels like to be champion.
Welcome to this special fan-to-fan production focusing on ATAC, perhaps known to some of you as the Amazing Things Art Center in downtown Framingham. Today we're going to give a new focus to fan-to-fan, not just sports, but arts and, yes, a circus.
Welcome to this episode of Frank and Mary in Framingham. I'm Grace O'Donnell, Director of Elder Services at the Callahan Center.
And I'm her friend, Art Bergeron. In my day job is as an elder law attorney at Myrick O'Connell.
Então a aplicação daquilo que era liturgia sacerdotal do Velho Testamento, para nós, é uma aplicação profética. Exatamente. Todos os detalhes da liturgia, do ambiente, do culto, são...
Coming up next on Access Framingham TV, we'll share strategies for staying safe and secure when online. We hope you'll stay tuned.
Had to grind, had to hustle straight like that. Gained a peace of mind from the struggle straight like that. Multi-platinum, sell a millionaire straight like that. Those who think I owe them wasn't there straight like that.
You're gonna do something, do it to the best of your ability. A lot of people want your spot, whether it's down here or up here. There's always somebody below that and somebody above that. So stay grounded, but stay focused.
My passion from dance stems from a young age. I grew up dancing. Pretty much ever since I was able to walk, I was able to dance. It's something that I've been doing my entire life.
He's on TV, no big deal.
Yeah, you know, I'm Google worthy, you know, all for the right reason.
Facts.
Yeah, but MasterChef was an opportunity where it was still one of those things where, like, I still can't believe it.
I'm Steve Rollins.
Hi, Steve.
This is Tony Green. Today we're going to ask our guests for an update about the path of healing in New Zealand after a shocking tragedy.
We are so incredibly proud and pleased to welcome our community here tonight for the Noche de Fiesta. This is an event that is meant to benefit the Framingham Public Library Foundation.
Welcome again to Greater Framingham Community Church's 35th annual Martin Luther King Memorial Breakfast. I'm very grateful to be back this year, and this time we're in a hybrid format, so thank you all for coming out.
The Africa Exchange Project it has been working in Tanzania, East Africa, for over 15 years now.
My name is Marcy Sharp, and today
I'll be extracting DNA from my strawberry. It is always a good idea to wear a lab coat.
Glad to see you. I haven't seen you since the pandemic, since the last Prepare Cafe, which is what I've invited you here to talk about today.
It has been many, many years that IAFSA has been supporting our students through scholarships like this one. So thanks IAFSA for everything that you do for our students. We really appreciate that, and I know that you make a big difference for them.
Our special guest this evening is Sylvia Ruth Gutman, a hidden child survivor of the Holocaust. Sylvia immigrated with her 2 older sisters to the United States in 1946.
So this is our first year for the Farmers Market run by the City of Framingham. It has been something that's been running for about 15 years here in Framingham. There's so many different things that they can see. These are local companies, local artisans, and these are things that if you didn't know about, it's that serendipity find.
This project going on in Framingham, I think that it's about time we have more art out on the streets and we get to celebrate all of the different people who live here out in the open publicly and permanently.
I think it's really, really impressive when you see all that work condensed into just 10 minutes. I also think that it's a testament to all of us, and I hope all of you are proud of being affiliated with an organization when you see something like that. Okay, so I just wanted to have one more slide, I believe, and really what I just want to kind of give a sense of where I'm hoping to take the organization, or where I think Access Framingham could go. And I think there's just 3 main sort of areas, and I'll touch upon each with some more specific examples. In terms of engagement, I'd mentioned our online membership form, but I understand that our website is a very valuable piece of digital real estate, and I am invested in making that an accessible and user-friendly website for producers who are involved in the studio, as well as members of the public that are coming to access the content on the site. Along with that sort of online presence, and in addition, we want to meet people where they're at. And we know people are on their phones, and we want to make sure that the content that people are accessing that is from Access Framingham, again, meets people where they're at. Another part of the engagement is that we want to further build our membership. And so we're planning to offer more classes and workshops. You can talk to me more about this later, but we're planning to do some weekend classes, and October 16th, it's a Sunday morning. We want to do a deep dive into the TV studio. Again, when I came in here, I was extremely impressed with the facility and this studio, and I really think that this is one of the premier TV studios Metro West of Boston. And so I would love a couple of members to come and see what it's all about. I also want to talk about set design and perhaps putting some new ideas forward for what we want to do there. And then on December 17th, I want to bring out some more of the creative side of what I work on and talk a little bit about short film and international short film. As Audrey said, I did build a 100-second film festival way back in 2005, and it's followed me at different access stations all along the way, and I just am excited to bring it to Framingham. And so I want to kick that idea off here at this meeting, and maybe if you're a filmmaker or video maker or you know somebody, you can start to think about what a 100-second film might be. And then on the 17th, I want to show you some work from around the world, hopefully maybe get you a little inspired. And then as far as production goes, we want, I said before it's not about always about technology, but it's kind of about technology. So we are going to be moving forward with podcasting. We are looking at finally getting our Studio B up and running. and looking at different solutions for wireless transmission and a consideration of closed captioning to make our work more accessible to the wider community. In addition, we are going to be taking a step towards producing more programming as a staff. This may, as we head into 2023, start to coalesce into a news program and providing comprehensive coverage of the community. We're going to be working with a series of freelancers at the studio, and in addition to being able to import folks that are designed to do this kind of work, I hope that it also provides an opportunity for the members of the organization to be members and enjoy the organization and not always feel like you're being pulled and asked to cover all sorts of events because we are very thin on people. You know, of course, we'd love you to continue to get involved, but I did want to put that out there because I think it's part of what I think can help us to become this local media hub. And then as far as development goes, this is going to take a couple different forms for me and for the organization, but I would like to begin to revisit and update our policies to reflect a world of streaming. If you look at some of our member policies, they talk about DVD and tape submission, and I don't know the last time we've even received one. And kind of along those lines, one thing that I do want to, as an organization, have us kind of evolve is to update our playback schedule in 2023. Really looking at ways that we can cater to embracing and soliciting short and mobile video. I think if you are an active producer and you have any thoughts, if you have a show or if you have a series of time slots, we'll be in touch. This is not happening without you, this is happening with you. But I do want to throw that out there as one of our goals for 2023. And the last goal in terms of development is an area that I feel very passionately about, and an area I think Access Framingham could really excel within the community, and that is development of youth programs. I think we can provide more opportunities for young people in Framingham to learn and develop skills in media production. Just because you have a camera in your pocket does not mean you know how to tell a story, does not mean you can influence. Just because you're an influencer doesn't mean you can actually influence public opinion. So we want to work on teaching people how to use these tools and empower them to use these tools. So I'm excited about that potential as well. And with any of these, please, my door is literally open all the time. I want you to talk to me, get in touch with me. I want to hear your ideas as well. We're in this together, and I think that's what's going to make Access Framingham thrive in the next years. So, thank you. If there's anything that I went over, any treasurer financial questions, or anything that maybe Audrey addressed at the beginning, as we transition to the discussion about board elections, I just wanted to see if there's any questions. Brian.
Could you take a minute or two on exactly what membership is?
Right. So at this point, membership is a fairly modest annual fee, and what it does is it provides you access to this studio, our cameras and equipment, and the staff to help you to learn how to use it. So essentially, it's like a $30 college course in how to use and get access to high-end broadcast equipment. Yeah. Bill?
Yeah, I'm wondering if the board is taking steps to develop alternative sources of revenue, because we all know that cable TV is declining in numbers of subscribers, and
Mhm.
there has been and will continue to be a continuing decline in cable fees going to access stations.
Sure. I mean, that's been on the horizon for a long time, and I think we all saw a big bump at the beginning of COVID when everybody was watching TV at home. But as such, it's kind of flatlined, and yes, it's kind of going down. And so what I'd like to consider is that I am working with the board to develop solutions that can increase and develop alternative funding streams. I mean, I think I didn't want to go too deeply into this idea of expanding membership into, sort of a broader kind of sphere of influence. But one of the areas I think we could really start to develop a revenue stream might be in a different sort of membership structure for the organization. But I think that's just one idea, probably among a lot. And again, that's one of those issues. I'll be right with you, Spence. One of those issues that has to be front and center. Spencer?
So, with the new setup of how things are working, do you think there's a possibility that we can take our current projects and bring them into new mediums, like you mentioned short films, like bringing some of the shows into more larger scale productions of them, essentially trying to say?
Yes. Yeah. I think the idea is we want to support you and figure out a way to get, make your idea big.
And the other thing I wanted to ask was, again, with the way things are working out, do you think there's going to be an opportunity for shows to sort of, dare I say it, cross over with each other?
Well, I think that there's a lot of, I think what might, oh, go ahead.
Like maybe someone from one show could be as a guest on another show, or like, and it could be something more creative together.
Yeah. I think that absolutely can happen. I think probably what I need to think about a bit more is to how to make and have members continue to talk to each other and be able to make sure that those opportunities can happen, because I think a lot of members would enjoy that kind of collaboration and support. Okay. I'm going to pass it over to Mike and Dan. Oh, Audrey, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm going to take this one.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Jason. Before we get into elections, I do want to take a moment to say thank you to the board. And I want you to know who the board members are. This is the structure of our current board. And the people right now who are listed at with asterisks next to their name. You'll see Dan Lample and Maria Rosado. Dan's term is expiring. He was appointed to fill a vacant seat, and so he's running for re-election. Maria, unfortunately, is leaving us, and she's leaving us, and we're all shedding tears because we've been so happy to have her here, but she has brought us a successor who we're also very excited about. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I just have to say, for those of you who don't know Maria, she just left her position as the executive director of the Pelham Community Center, Pelham Learning Center and Community Center, which is down on Beaver Street in Framingham. You know, the Corcoran Management Group, which is now a member of Framingham Public Access Corporation, built, how many units is it? I want to give Maria, come up here, please. Come up. I was going to give them to her up here. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all your service. Maria is, the way that the structure of the organization works is that you can serve on the board if you're a resident of Framingham, or you can serve if you are an employee of a Framingham organization, even if you don't live in Framingham, and you represent that organization. And so Maria doesn't live in Framingham, but she does. She's spent most of her days here. and the Corcoran Management Group, which runs this amazing Pelham Center down on Beaver Street, became members and had Maria as their representative on our board of directors. And we're very So grateful to her for, we've had some meetings at her location. She's just opened up every resource that she's had to be very giving and generous to the board. And it's been a pleasure working with you.
Here, if there's anything I can continue to do, even though I'm an outsider, I'm more than happy to help. And I can also work with through Jessie.
We're going to introduce Jessie in a moment with the slate because she is running to fill the seat that's being vacated by Maria. It's been a pleasure working with you. You have brought an energy and a motivation to the board that's been so refreshing. And you've connected us to a part of the community that is so important. The Corcoran Management Group runs, how many units is it?
The development has 560 units. They're family units, it's mixed family housing. And then the facility was constructed and we opened in 2020, January 2020. So we were open for about 3 months, then we had to shut down. After I waited for this for 10 years, but it was all good. We figured out a way to continue to serve people despite the fact that we had to close our doors, but we continued to work through people through outreach and, through the telephone and everything else. So we used every resource too to continue to help folks. And it's been my pleasure working with you. I'm sorry it wasn't longer, but as life has it, things change in our lives, and we kind of have to follow along with plans that we never expected. So, but all's good, thank God, and I thank you all. You guys are a wonderful group, a lot of fun. So, if anybody next year, try to apply to be on this board. And Audrey, you are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You are. So
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Feelings mutual.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
And Lindsay Morris isn't here. He'll be leaving us after 5 years. I do want to say a special thank you to Lindsay. Lindsay owns an insurance agency here in Framingham and is not a Framingham resident, but he served on the board for a long time. At this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Dan, I believe, and Mike, and they're going to head us into the election for the board seats.
Hello, I'm Mike Cunningham. I've been the clerk for the past year. I was elected a year ago. It was a lot easier because it was all on Zoom, and I don't think anybody had this. None of the board members had to, or the candidates had to even speak. I don't think a year ago. So it was a lot easier for me to get on, I guess. But as Audrey mentioned, I'd been on the board previously. I've actually been involved in public access going on 25 years now. I was here when it was still run by Comcast. I was in the room when the original board that was selected by the town at the time, the selectmen, by I believe it was 9 people, and they literally just went around and said, all right, who wants to be president, who wants to be vice president? It wasn't as organized as this. So everybody that is eligible to vote was given a ballot as they came in. If you believe that you should have a ballot, you need to have been a member. If you're a new member, you have to have been a member for at least 45 days. So that's August 14th of this year. And you need to be paid up in good standing. And here's the ballot on the screen. And it's very simple. You vote up to 3 people in the 3-year term. If you would prefer to write in, you're more than welcome to write somebody in. And then the same for the 2-year and the 1-year term. We'll be hearing from the candidates that are here. They'll get to speak for 2 minutes so that you can, feel a little more comfortable about who you're voting for. You have anything to add, Dan? Dan's done a lot of legwork with myself, so.
Thank you, Mike. I wanted to say a few things, and I will invite all the folks that are nominees for the board up to talk a little bit about themselves, introduce themselves, and talk a little bit about why they wanted to be on the board. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about how these names came to be. Again, my name is Dan Lample. I'm a board member. I've been a board member since February. Audrey asked me to be the chair of the nomination committee. And at the time, I asked Kathleen, Sullivan, Mahmood, Jason, and of course Maria to join me in the search for excellent people to join the board. And we looked at a number of folks throughout the three months or so that we were looking for folks. And we considered all the folks that applied on Tuesday, August 16th at a subcommittee meeting that we held via Zoom. And after careful deliberation, the committee unanimously voted to recommend the following slate of candidates. And the slate obviously is myself, Jesselyn, Jesse, I believe, Ambar, Terry, and Mahmood. I wanted to, again, let each candidate introduce themselves and tell you why they want to be a board member. They'll have 2 minutes to do so. I'm going to start myself because obviously my name's on there as well. Thank you, Michael. I've worked in a number of financial leadership roles for most of my professional life in the past. I have also volunteered for a number of different organizations and committees, including the Finance Committee for the town of Framingham. I've also started several businesses ranging from haircutting, franchise, to life insurance. I've resided in Framingham with my wife, Tracy, and my 2 children since 2001. I've been on the board since February. I'm interested in serving on the board for the next 3 years. I'm interested in learning about this business because this business is new to me. I want to use my financial and business expertise to help Access Framingham over time become less financially dependent on cable companies for their financial resources. As somebody mentioned before, times are changing and we need a new stream of revenue for our business. Thank you for your consideration. So the first person I'm going to ask to come up here is Ambar. Ambar will be able to talk for 2 minutes.
So good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I am flattered for being considered for this position. I have been a Framingham resident since 1995. And let me share one story for you. When I was at school, even before that, graduate school, I was a radio DJ at Top 40 station. And then I switched over to something like WBUR, except run by the University of Virginia. And that's where I critiqued movies and also sometimes DJed for world music. So when I came over here and Dan mentioned would I like to help out, when I finally visited the station, I was so thrilled, like a lot of good memories coming up. And lo and behold, how much better it is, especially when I saw all the programs in there. I'm just blown away right now. So having said that, my background is I'm a techie guy. I'm in the semiconductors industry, and I do both hardware and software stuff, chip design, etc. And in terms of, I have been in the finance committee when Framingham was a town, and I was also the finance committee chair. And that's where I got to work with many of you personally and closely, Mahmood, Dan, and also you two, Audrey, and others. And so when the chance came up that I would be able to contribute a little bit more back to this wonderful town and this wonderful effort, I just jumped at it. And I'm very impressed. I'm really humiliated. In some way, I'm humbled, not humiliated, humbled. Sorry, still working on it. But, Mahmood, I forgot to ask your shoe size because those are humongous. So anyway, so with all that, I appreciate your support and thanks for giving me the chance.
Thank you, Ambar. Jesse will be the next person. Jessie Dutek, which is, she's from the Pelham Lifelong Learning Center, and hopefully she'll be taking Maria's spot.
Hi guys, I'm Jessie Dutra. I'm the Resident Services Manager at Pelham Learning Center, where Maria was. So I started working there in November, so it'll be a year in November that I'm there. So when she told us she was leaving, she asked if I wanted to take her spot here, and I said, sure, why not? It'll be a good experience for me. This is my first time, my first experience, so I feel like it'll be, a great skill set to learn, and it'll, grow my leadership for my position now. So I supervise 3 programs. I supervise the youth, teens, young adults, and adult senior program at Pelham Learning Center. So it's pretty busy all day. from the minute we open until 5 o'clock we close. So yeah, I feel like taking on this experience will just help me learn something new, and I look forward to taking her spot and still work alongside her because I'll be texting her if I have any questions. Like soon I will for work purposes, but so she's still with us. So thank you, I appreciate it.
And Terry.
Hi, everybody. I'm Terry Banerjee. I first bumped into the Framingham Access with the Rotary Club at our auction, and that was many, many years ago. And over the years, I actually wanted to become involved with what Framingham Access did, but I didn't have the opportunity until after Framingham became a city, because up until that time I was very busy with my work and very busy with other things. And so at that point, I got interested in the beat, and I became an anchor, and I loved it. And I started doing camera work with Mahmoud and Bill Rapkin at different places. So most of the organizations to which I belong, I also like to contribute. So I decided I would like to become a board member. It's been an experience, that's for sure. This was different from any board I've ever been on. And it's been really enlightening for me. Audrey stepped up as president. She's amazing. And I've been very proud to be on the board and help. We actually did find a lot of issues with Access Framingham when we lost our last executive director. And it's been really interesting trying to put the organization, lift it up and bring it to the level that we want to take it to. And I would like to continue in that role for now.
Thank you, Terry. I should have taken my mask off before. And the last person that is on the slate is Mahmoud.
Thank you, Dan. And my name is Mahmoud Akhtar, and I have been a resident of this town for a very, very, very long time. And I got interested in video production when I first met Bill Rapkin when he was doing some taping at Mayor Spicer's election campaign. And so Bill suggested I come here and learn how to operate a camera, how to do some editing, how to do some shoots. And that was the beginning, and it's been 5 years, and I've been doing that. I volunteer on various productions. But 3 years ago, I was also elected to be the treasurer of this corporation. And I have certainly learned a lot and enjoyed working in that role, and particularly the last 2 years because of the COVID and so many other issues. It has been a challenging year for the organization, but I want to thank and also congratulate our president, Audrey Hall, for the tremendous leadership that was and experience that she brought to the organization and provided the necessary leadership so that what? Oh, okay. Just an extension for 10 seconds. Okay, here's my term is ending, and I've decided to run for that 1-year position that is vacant for the simple reason that there are a lot of details and to a certain degree complexities associated with the financial part of this organization. And I'm thankful to my predecessor who spent a lot of time with me when I became the treasurer to kind of educate me, mentor me, okay? Now, I don't, whoever is going to be the new treasurer of this organization, I felt that I had a responsibility to make sure that I stay with that person and, basically make sure that that person, becomes fully cognizant of the different issues. So that's the reason I'm running. I ask for your support. Thank you.
All right, I have the official results here. For the 3-year term, we have elected Dan Lample, Dr. Abrar Shakar, and Jocelyn Dutta. And for the 2-year term, we have re-elected Terry, and for the 1-year term, Mahmoud. Congratulations.
All right. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.